Hello, I'm Emmeline.
And I'm Kindy.
And welcome to Stuff with Moms, a podcast about shows, stories, and enjoying life. So, I have a lot to tell you about how my week was.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, we packed the truck on Monday, left Tuesday morning, and drove Tuesday 700 miles, Wednesday 700 miles, Thursday 600 miles, Friday 100 miles, unloaded the truck into a storage unit, and then moved to this apartment. And tomorrow we meet up with our realtor and start looking for houses. And our realtor back in Wyoming called us and said, our house has been on the market for a day and we already have a bunch of offers. So
nice.
Yay for the market. But it was the craziest week ever. It was so crazy.
Yeah, why was it so crazy?
Because there was so much to do in such a scrunched amount of time, I didn't sleep good. And so on the drive, I became acquainted with caffeine.
Oh, no.
When we stopped for gas, I went in and I got a Mountain Dew. And they had this like melon flavored one.
Oh, okay.
So I grabbed that and then I grabbed some peachy rings. And man, that was a good combination, let me tell you. That was delicious. We're in this extended stay hotel, essentially. It's like an apartment, but instead of having a lease that we had to fulfill, we can just leave at any point, which is really nice because we want to get into a house sooner rather than later. So we did it this route, and we're kind of cramped in here, but...
How many rooms is that?
It's one giant room. I guess the bathroom's a separate room. We have the end one so that we have all the windows, which is great for my plants because we brought those.
So you are in...
I am in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Surprise, Kindy.
I know, that is surprising because I thought there were more weeks of family time and moving time. But no, you're there. Man.
Yep,
so how is it like so far? What are your thoughts so far of South Carolina?
Well, the day we unloaded into the storage shed was actually the hottest day of the year so far.
Oh,
of course. And we were sweating buckets, and I think Kyle and Lorenzo both got heat exhaustion, but we had a lot of help from the in-laws, Joy and Doug, which was really nice. But it is gorgeous here. It is so beautiful. We've had a couple of good rainstorms and lightning and thunder, and
lucky.
The people are just, everybody we've interacted with has been so nice, and we get to hear the fun accent all the time, and it's awesome. We drove through part of the Appalachians, and it was windy, but it was gorgeous. It still doesn't feel real that we're living here. My brain hasn't, made the connection that we are here now. Maybe because it happened so fast. Maybe because
you're in a temporary place.
And we still don't have all our stuff.
Yeah.
It's all in storage. We have our clothes. That's it.
That's crazy. Well, hopefully you won't have to be there for too long. Who knows? Maybe the next time we get on, you'll be, I'm moving in and it's been crazy and I have no sleep and second round of caffeine. I don't know.
I hope not. No, I don't anymore.
Maybe it was a caffeine. What is it called when you get off of something?
Oh,
not the high, but the low part of whatever you're getting off of. Detox.
Yeah, detox.
Your body was wow. That was hard.
Woo.
Your body was going through detox.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been fun. So
yeah, you've gotten sleep.
Yes. It's been nice to get some days of sleep. But Kyle was a hero. He drove that really long, it ended up being with the U-Haul and our truck attached to the back. It ended up being 45 feet long. And so
Wow.
maneuvering that, like he picked the hotels we stopped at because they had big enough parking lots that he's like, I could turn around in that. And he picked like the truck stop gas stations because they're big. So, yep. How about you? How was your week?
It was fun. I have been working every night to try and finish Anders' blanket.
Oh, yay.
Oh my gosh, I suck at it. This is going to be the first blanket I've ever started and completed to completion with like the binding and the mat thing in the middle.
Mm.
It is awful. It looks awful. It looks so bad. So instead of it being a deterrent, I am actually kind of surprised that I want to do it again just to make the next one better.
Ah.
And I'm grateful that I'm doing it for Anders so young because he won't know the difference. It is bad. I did fleece for the back, for the backing. And it is I've talked about it before. It's a patchwork of different ones. And so like sewing those together was really hard because you start at one end and they match, and then you get to the other end and one is like 5 inches longer than what I started with. So I gave up measuring. It has just been hard. Not turning out the way I had planned. And
well, fleece has a thing where one direction it stretches and the other direction it doesn't stretch as much. And so maybe you're sewing together the stretchy side with a stiff side.
Non-stretch, yeah.
And so you got to make sure your stretchies are together and your non-stretchies are together.
Gotcha. And that's probably where I went wrong. I just started cutting and sewing together and was trying to make it look decent enough, but did not pay attention to the stretchiness because I was trying to make some Spider-Man images
match.
Like, yeah, match. So
whenever you take on a new thing, there's always bumps and hiccups in the way. There's always stuff. And there's always stuff you learn and you're like, okay, I'll do this and this next time. Every time.
That is definitely the case with this one because like I almost want to just show you pictures to show you how awful it looks, but I also don't because I don't want to show how awful it looks. Because it's pretty bad. So each night though, I'm like, okay, I just have this and I'm going to get it done. And I don't because I don't realize how long it takes to do every part. This is the first time I've ever done binding, and it's hard because you have to figure out the width, and then you have to do all the fancy sewing to it, and you have to do the right and the wrong, and you can't with solid patterns, it's hard to find the right and the wrong side.
Yep.
Anyway, so I'm just hodgepodging it together because I'm so sick of this project, and I'm grateful that Anders is little. But I guarantee you, once he grows out of it, I'm like hiding it somewhere, or I'll
throwing it
redo
away.
I don't know. Yeah, or throw it away.
What you can do is use it as the inside of the next blanket you make him.
Oh,
so it makes it like extra.
It's pretty thick, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
it's pretty
his
thick
really cold night blanket.
It is because while I'm trimming like all the stray pieces, it is warm. I'm like, I might have made this too warm for him because he's a heater naturally. So he's so excited for it though. He asks me every once in a while, is it done yet? I'm like, no, this is taking forever. But I'm on the final stitch and I didn't stitch it right. So it's gonna be awful. But I am determined to do this again and to make the next one look better. And maybe I should just do lots of tiny ones and then do big ones or something. I don't know. But so that's been an adventure. And then we went to the zoo on Saturday, which was super fun. And something that I always kick myself for is allowing Anders to decide what we do. I should have just been like, nope, we're going over here and then we're going to go over here. And then he wanted to go. He saw like the giraffes. And then so he wanted to go to the giraffes, but then his eye caught on something else. And so he wanted to go see the apes. And then he's like, wait, I know, which one do I want to see? And so it was a lot of that. And then, yeah, we decided to let him get face paint on his face. And oh man, have you ever let your kids do that?
Yeah.
It is so messy.
It is.
And he rubs his face all the time, so it didn't even last like 10 minutes, and he already had a smudge on his face. Yeah, it was so cute though. He did a red panda, is what he said, but it kind of looked like a little tiger. And then his like bottom lip was part of the tongue, and then his chin was the rest of the tongue. So it was like a panda with its tongue sticking out. A red panda with its tongue. He looked so cute. I'll have to send you pictures. Okay. Maybe I'll post it in the show notes. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But oh man, he looked so cute. And it was adorable, and he loved it. And then he said, Mom, my face itches. I'm like, well, you can't touch your face because it'll come off. And he tried really hard. Yeah. But he was
that stuff like dries and then kind of makes you feel
itchy.
Yeah.
But man, he looked so cute.
That's cute.
But yeah, it was super fun. And Emmeline she actually did really good, considering she didn't get a nap until on our way home. So she did pretty good. But it was fun. It was just a good week and good weekend. And
okay, Candy, I think you're in charge of our obscure holiday for the week.
All right, I am. So this is August 2nd. It is Ice Cream Sandwich Day, which is, right? I know.
I love ice cream sandwiches.
I didn't realize how much I liked them until somebody brought them to a party, and I was eating one. I was like, oh man, I like eating the sandwich part and then the ice cream by itself when you have like just a little bit to hold it with. I don't like, even eating it as a sandwich is fine, but it's like eating it like an Oreo.
Where you want the filling.
Kind of hard. Yeah. Well, I eat the outside first, I guess. So it's the opposite of eating it like an Oreo. Anyway, it's weird. It is an unofficial holiday, but it's celebrated every year on August 2nd as the National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. And many countries actually celebrate it. They have a different version. So Iran, their filling isn't vanilla. It's rose or pistachio flavored ice cream. And it's sandwiched between two thin wafers. And Vietnam, they have street vendors that sell ice cream stuffed between two layers of bread.
Bread? Maybe they have sweeter bread.
Maybe. It could be. So ways you can celebrate is you can go get yourself an ice cream sandwich and enjoy, or get some for you and some family and share it with your family or friends. Or you can spice it up and get vanilla wafers and try those little tiny scoops of ice cream in between vanilla wafers.
Or get really big cookies. Put ice cream in between those. We used to do that when I worked at a soda fountain. Those were our ice cream sandwiches. We had the bakery make us a whole bunch of cookies, and then when people wanted an ice cream sandwich, we get the two cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and put ice cream in between them and serve those as ice cream sandwiches.
Those are kind of hard to eat though, because you take a bite and the ice cream just like squishes out of the cookies because they're so hard, because they're so cold.
The cookies that the bakery made us were, they handled the ice cream well. However they made them. Well, I don't know how they did it, but they had magic non-squishy out of the ice cream cookies.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's good, because the one I had, I don't know, a long time ago, it didn't work very well. The cookies were too hard. So yeah, or you could experiment with different kinds of ice cream flavors and outside layers of the sandwich. So maybe every year you can make that a family tradition or friends tradition of just making different kinds of ice cream sandwiches.
That's a good idea.
August 2nd. Right?
Let's do it.
Not too shabby. Yeah. because in 2024, it's going to be on a Friday. So there you go.
Woohoo. So our word of the week, this one's for you, Kindy. Inveigle. And it is a verb. What do you think it means?
Well, my guesses are not very intellectual because I'm thinking regal, but that's just because it rhymes or sounds like it, and it's not. I'm gonna go with someone acting out auspiciously. We'll go with it.
Okay. It is to entice, lure, or ensnare by flattery or artful talk.
Ooh.
He tried to inveigle the bird over to eat the bird seed out of his hand.
Oh, okay. Nice. Inveigle. That's definitely a word I would never use. For sure.
Yeah, I usually think of entice first, but
Yeah.
So instead of entice, you can use inveigle.
I have a story about an 11-year-old who was diagnosed with autism during the pandemic. So his name is Joe Trofer Cooks, and he still has a passion for farming. So this story is when he's 11, but when he was 7, his grandfather built the raised garden beds. And then a year later, the COVID hit. So he began actually to sell his homegrown produce outside of his house. And he saved every penny and bought 3 chickens. So then he started to add eggs to his produce market, which then helped him earn his first 4 sheep. And get this is what he named his 4 sheep: rhubarb, strawberry, pumpkin, and radish. His mother, Claire, said that tending to his animals is kind of a form of therapy for Joe since he was diagnosed with autism. And with the profits of selling the vegetables and the sheep, he was able to rent a plot of land from a farmer in his English village of Billinghay, Lincolnshire. And then over 2 years, he now owns 37 sheep, 12 chickens, 2 cows, and a border collie named Spud. And so here's the quote: "Most children are born into this world of farming, but this is something he's built for himself. Like his family isn't farmers at all, but now his brothers are they look up to him." In the Lincolnshire show, he is the youngest exhibitor of livestock in 125 years it's been running. So
Wow.
He is well known. They call him Farmer Joe, which is kind of cute. And every day he actually wakes up at 4 a.m. to feed his animals. And then he actually recently was donated a wheel. So he now spins wool so he can sell it.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
This kid has like more hours in the day than the rest of us, huh?
Right? Yeah. And he loves it. He goes to the farmer's market to buy his sheep as well as selling, whatever goods he makes.
So you said he was diagnosed during COVID that he had autism.
During COVID. Yeah. And his mom said that he would never invite friends over. And so I think this farm has kind of helped him find his place in his life, because farming is very fulfilling. And so I imagine this kind of has helped open doors for some friendships for him.
That's really cool. Woohoo. Good on ya, Joe. Farmer Joe.
I just thought it was really cute because, I don't know, I grew up on a goat farm. My parents were both farmers. I had never, ever, ever had the desire to own animals or be a farmer at all, but like half my siblings do. And I'm always perplexed as to why. So I'm grateful to those who have the desire to be farmers.
Thank you, farmers, for all of our food that we can get easily in grocery stores. We appreciate you.
We really do.
So this week, while we were driving, I was in the van with Clark, my 6-year-old, and I taught him the gesture that you do to get semi-drivers to honk. And I was thinking about it. I was like, there's more universal gestures out there that like people just know what you're talking about.
No matter where you go.
And he was just thrilled when the semi-drivers would honk for him when he did that. And then he'd wave, thank you. And it just brightened his day. There's more gestures out there. I told Kindy to think of one, and I thought it would be fun for her to mention whatever universal gesture she thought of. So what did you think of, Kindy?
The bird.
Yeah, people usually know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's usually one that no matter where you go, everybody knows what you mean.
So I have a funny story with that one, actually. My grandpa, my dad's dad, lost his pointer finger.
Okay.
In a farming accident. When I learned what flipping somebody off was, the next time we went and saw him, because he would point with his middle finger.
Yeah.
I turned to my sister, that's just older than me, Jonica, and I turned to her and I was like, he just flipped us off. And then, we had the discussion of that's how he has to point because he doesn't have a pointer finger. Anyway, but I was just like shocked that my grandpa had to use his middle finger all the time to point at stuff. And
that's hilarious. I love that. When you learn as a kid something that's like totally shocking, but in reality it's like, that's not a big deal. That's fine.
Yeah. Like when you hear somebody say a word that your parents are like, that's a bad word. And then you go out and you hear it and you're like, oh,
you said a
bad word. And like some little kids don't have a filter. Like we were at the hotel. There was a gentleman that went over and got some coffee. And Clark was like, oh, coffee's bad for you. We're like, Clark, other people drink coffee and that's okay. He's gonna die, or I don't know what he thought. Whatever little kids think that
he's a bad man. I just thought of one for Anders saying things in public. So, as a mother, you are not able to run as much after you have children because your bladder just isn't as strong. And so Anders, being the boy that he is, loves to race everywhere we go. And so my comment I always say is, I can't run or I'm going to pee my pants. So one of the times we were heading into a grocery store and he wanted to run. So I try, no matter what we're doing, I still try. I give it the old college try. And, so we start running and then I go, Anders, I can't run anymore. He goes, really loud. He goes, why? Because you're going to pee your pants. So many people around. I was like, yep, that's my son. The other one is when there's people around. He goes, Mom, who are they? Like, I know everybody in the world. It's like, I don't know these people. We get out at the zoo and other people are getting out of their vehicles and getting their stuff, strollers out and wagons and what have you. And Mom, who's that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know everybody. Like, I don't know where he gets this idea where he thinks that I know everyone. I don't.
That's so awesome. Okay, so I wanted to share with you guys a yummy recipe, and I will have a link for it in the show notes, but it's something that when I married Kyle, his mom made these, every once in a while. But every time she made them, I feel like I ate half the pan every time. And I still make them on and off. I haven't made them for probably like a year, but that's because previously, the year before that, I made them like so many times. And I was like, I can't make these again because I just eat them all. Yeah. But it's called peanut butter fingers. And what it is you make kind of like a cookie peanut butter crust. And you bake it. And then you sprinkle chocolate chips on top let them melt.
Oh my gosh, I
And then
love those.
And then you put like this powdered sugar glaze on top of that. And
hold on.
crap, they are so good.
I'll have to try those. They sound yummy.
They are delicious. But be warned, listeners, you'll want to eat more than your fair share. And my sister-in-law Joy has a gluten-free recipe version, and we'll put both recipes in the show notes, and you guys can enjoy a delicious recipe with moms.
That sounds yummy, especially if I don't have to cook it. For some reason, I can't do cookies.
Well, you do have to cook the crust.
I know. That's why I'm going to give it a shot. I don't know how it's going to turn out because I can't make cookies to save my life. For some reason, baking them is so hard. Actually, I take it back because I recently made sugar cookies and those did not turn out that bad. I didn't cook them too long, so. That was me taking it back. All right, so our movie quote. Do you want to tell them our movie quote?
Okay, you guys. Our movie quote is, we aren't going to have a movie next week.
Dun, dun, dun.
We are going to have the episode 10 special. Can you believe it? You've been around for 10 episodes with us. Thank you.
Congrats.
And we're excited. We're going to give you a little special something different than a movie review.
And that's all the hints you're going to get.
We are going to talk about a movie this week. So, spoilers for Born Yesterday. A wealthy but crude businessman, Harry Brock, on a trip to the nation's capital, is socially embarrassed by his ditzy, uncultured showgirl girlfriend, Billy Dawn. He hires a reporter, Paul Verall, to educate her, or quote-unquote, teach her the ropes. Harry comes to regret this idea when Billy not only becomes more savvy, questioning his unscrupulous deals and rebelling against his bullying, but also falls in love with Paul. Okay, now we'll talk about what we liked about it and then what we didn't like about it. And then our top 3
cringe moments.
Parts in the show that made us cringe a little bit. And then we'll give our ranking. And then if it's mom approved. And then Kindy's got our tally board.
Yeah.
What I liked about it, there were some really funny parts. There were. I really liked, at one point, JJ, it's Harry's nephew, and he's coming along, and he gets all excited because he's finally going to get to go to one of the things. And he comes all down to the limo, and he's about to step in, and Harry stops him with a hand to the chest and says, "You just stay here tonight." Yeah. And like the look of disappointment on JJ's face is just like, oh man,
so deflated.
Yeah. and then they drive off, and he looks down at his like little boutonniere that he has in his tux, kind of like fiddles with the flower, and then walks back into the hotel.
Yeah. I love the part where she's eating M&Ms while she's doing a workout.
I didn't
she's
notice.
On the bed, eating M&Ms while she's doing leg exercises.
I remember that part. I didn't realize she was eating M&Ms. That's funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. I really like the part where they're at the big party, and Paul taught her these like 8 perfect phrases that, if you use them correctly, these are the only things you ever have to say at a Washington, D.C. big party, right? And so she's like, okay, I can memorize them, but how will I know when to say them? He's like, we'll come up with a system. And she pulls them off perfectly. Somebody turns to her and, well, what are your thoughts on this, Billy Dawn? And she's like, well, actually, and then she just goes through this list of all these 8 phrases, and everybody kind of comments here and there at them. But then they're like, huh, you're right. That's a good point. Okay. Wow. And in the background, you see Harry, who's like, yeah, what do you think about that? And his mouth just keeps getting open more and more, like, holy crap.
He's shocked at what's happening.
Yeah. Like, who is this lady that knows how to hold her own in this situation? I liked that part a lot.
I love Billy's perspective on Elvis's 40 TVs, because you can hear and understand that you should be impressed of how rich he is, because he has 40 TVs, but her perspective is that he must have been lonely because he had 40 TVs. I love that, where you've heard something before, or you hear something from someone that they're trying to spin it one way, but you think of it a different way. What was another thing you loved?
The part following her talking about like those 8 phrases. She reads, I think it's number 8, and she's like, I have no idea what this is even talking about. He's like, it's not a real thing. He has her quote some amendment or law that needs to be passed that he just made up the words for.
Yeah.
And the number for. It's like Amendment 248 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, there is nothing like that. It doesn't exist. But if you say it, people will believe it. It sound like you know what you're talking about. And so after, at the party, when she uses her 8 phrases perfectly, they're leaving and it zooms in on a conversation people are having. And they're like, oh yeah, that law that needs to be passed. Yeah, 248, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that just caught right on.
Yeah, that was good. Because Paul's point was that nobody will say they don't know what they're talking about unless they're being indicted. And so he just made this thing up, and now they're all saying it from what she said. So a couple of the quotes that I really liked is Billy. She's coming out of the library. She goes, this whole thing is making me feel dumber, not smarter. I love that. And then
that's so true to life, though. Like when you think about it, when you start learning something, you're like, wow, I really don't know a lot.
Yeah. You realize how little you know about something. The more you learn, the more you know you don't know.
Yep, exactly.
I love Paul's response. He goes, being smart isn't just about books. It's about asking questions. It's about finding out why things are the way they are. And I love that, because it's not about being book smart or anything. It's about asking why and being curious about it and finding out why things are the way they are.
Right. One thing I really liked was, so she gets invited, I think, to be made fun of to this radio show. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But she gets invited to this radio show because the host heard that she made a fool of herself at the party. So she's like, ooh, I'll get her on my show. And she mentions during the interview that the most important book to read on democracy is some book, right? Written by some person.
Democracy in Our Time or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Billy Dawn takes that on. She goes and gets this book, and she starts attempting to read it. Anyway, by the end, near the end of the movie, she has read this book alongside a dictionary because she's like, half the words, I don't know what it means. But then it shows her throughout the movie, like, getting through this book and then looking up a word. And when she finds the word and looks it up, she always says, oh, good word.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. But then she goes and has a luncheon with this radio host. And she's sitting at the table with her, and she's like, well, I read that book that you talked about in our interview. And she's like, you have? She's like, yeah. What'd you think about this part? And she's like, oh, we don't need to discuss that. And she's like, no, I'm really curious what you thought about the book.
Well, she asked her what her favorite part was.
What her favorite part was. That's it.
Yeah.
So she's like, what's your favorite part? And she's like,
well, it's not really a book you have a favorite part
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, well, I have a favorite part. And it's this. So I don't know. What do you think? What's your favorite part? And she's like, well, can I be honest with you? I haven't actually read that book. It's just something you say. And she's like, whoa. And then she walks away from that interview and she goes to Paul and she's like, she's actually stupid.
Yeah.
But it's funny that like people can just talk about
Put on
something
airs.
like they know about it when really that's not the case.
Yeah, and you just got to figure out who's actually knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. Something I loved about it is Paul's encouragement through the whole thing, like how kind he was in getting her to learn. Like he wasn't rude about it like everybody else was.
But he also did something that drives me a little bit crazy, is that when you have a question about something and you know they know the answer and you ask them, they want you to figure it out for yourself instead of just giving you the answer. That's what Paul did to her. She's like, so what does this mean? He's like, there's a dictionary right over there. And I'm like, he knows what it means. He could just tell her. Like, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine a little, I think, because I was mad in that moment. Ooh, maybe that bothers me a little bit. I'm fine learning that way. They're like, you don't remember it as well as than if you look it up. I'm like, nope, I remember it just as horribly if I look it up or if you tell me.
Yeah, which is not at all, because who remembers things? Other people, not me. Yeah, that could be. So that's something you hated. What's another thing you liked about it?
I loved when her and Harry went to go dance.
Yeah.
And we got to see Harry dance, John Goodman, do all these fun dance moves with Melanie Griffith. Anyway, we got to see Harry dance with Billy Dawn, and their dance moves were so fun. Like, they were getting into it, and it was just snappy and fun. I loved the dance scene. That was great.
Well, they had to make it worth it because, I mean, they were champions. They won a championship.
Oh, yeah, they hit first place.
It had to be awesome. I love Billy's determination to keep doing this. Like, she gets a lot of crap for trying to read the book, but I love her determination with it. Another quote of hers that I thought was hilarious. She's in the museum. She goes, "Last night I started thinking and I couldn't fall asleep for 10 minutes." She's distraught in this moment, but it's pretty funny.
At one point, like you were talking about how she's determined to finish that book. She was taking a break, and it zoomed in on her watching Home Improvement, which I thought was really funny.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Tim the Tool Man Taylor was on the screen, and I was like, oh, I know that show.
Yeah, I'm actually watching it right now.
Oh, you are?
Not right now, but yeah, I've been watching it. I love that show.
Fun.
It's like different when you're older. It's like I appreciate it so much more.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so.
No, me either. Not until recently, until I started watching it again. It's so funny. It's awesome. I highly suggest watching it again. If you've grown up with it, people, go back and watch it. It's on Disney right now. What did you hate? What did you not like about this movie?
That was hard watching John Goodman play this awful guy.
Yeah, especially not being used to seeing him in that kind of role. I've seen him in 10 Clover Lane, and it like adds an extra creepiness to it because you're like, he's such a good guy. Yeah. But in this one, he's so creepy. I hated Harry's attitude. I didn't like his character, but I mean, he's just such a jerk. He's pretty much a jerk to her all the time, but she just kind of puts up with it because I guess she doesn't know any better, or she's like, I want this lifestyle, so I just have to stick with this guy. But he's such a jerk. Yes. That's all I got for the hate
category.
Yeah, the not like category. But I'm more biased to this movie because I love it so much.
Let's move on to our top 3 cringe moments.
You go first. I think I already know which one.
Which one's
in your cringe? Yeah.
Okay, so my top 3 cringe moments, and these aren't in any order. When you see Harry kind of explode for the first time, where he yells at Billy Dawn to not take the alcohol to her room. Then he takes his assistant and like slams him into a bench after he made like a suggestion. And then Paul Verall says, "Whoa, don't act out of character while I'm around," or whatever. He made some smart alecky comment. It was the smart alecky comment on top of all that awfulness that I was just like, ugh.
Oh, really?
I mean, they were trying to establish Harry as a character, so I understood that part, but it was that comment. That was not the right thing to say, dude. No, you say like, "Whoa, dude, that was not okay." And then
you didn't appreciate the sarcastic remark.
No,
after
you needed
after
to
you
be
witnessed all that.
You need to be forthright in situations like that. But I know people react differently in those situations, so I get that. But that made me cringe. Billy Dawn trying to get Paul up to her room after their first meeting. Harry is this narcissistic, abusive man, and Billy Dawn just like put up with it. He hits her at one point, and she says that's the first time and last time kind of thing. But verbally abusive and emotionally abusive the whole time. I guess physically abusive was her last straw. I don't know. That was hard to keep down. I was just like, ah. So if that sort of stuff triggers you, listeners, maybe not the show to watch.
Mine were kind of the same. My first one was when Harry hits Billy. And then when Harry laughs at Billy while she's trying to read the book, like he does it overtly. Like other times he's just like, okay, whatever. Because there's one time where he's like, "What you reading?" She tells him, she goes, "Democracy in Our Time" by Pocahontas. And he walks away. Oh yeah, she's good. But it's a time after that where he's like, "You still reading the book?" And then he like kind of laughs and then laughs again. Anyway, it's just more overt than what he's done before. And then the first time, mine is the first time when he yells at Billy for taking the alcohol. And that was it. Like that whole scene was pretty bad.
How would you rate this, Kindy? 0 to 5.
Okay, so for me, this movie isn't about the abuse that she puts up with. And I think that's why I am doing 5 stars, because it's about her growth intellectually, because that really hits home for me. Because growing up, I never thought I was smart. I dated somebody who made me feel dumb. Mm-hmm. So it kind of that aspect of it hits home. Thankfully, not the abusive part, but for this movie, for me, it's a 5, because I love the whole fact that the way she develops into this smarter person. I really enjoy watching that part of it.
Well, I was ready to give this 2 stars, Kindy, because I'm like, I watched it for Kindy. I didn't enjoy it. It's hard to watch Harry just be this awful guy. But when you focus in on, Billy Dawn and her growth and her changing from this kind of superficial person to...
Well, not really wanting more for herself, too. Like, she just is like, whatever.
She kind of belittled herself. And that's something that a narcissistic, verbally abusive person does to those he verbally abuses or she verbally abuses, is they make them think less of themselves. But kind of seeing it from, from your perspective and the thoughts you put into it, I want to give it 2.5 stars. I don't know if we're allowed to give half stars, but it's our rating system, so we can give it whatever we want.
Exactly. You could do 2.75 or 2.25.
What I really liked at the very end, because all along Harry was having her sign away on all these papers, and come to find out he was just having her put all of his companies in her name, so that if there was ever a problem, he could walk away from it scot-free. But she found out that she owned all these companies. So instead of just being like, well, screw you, guy that ruined my life, she's like, I want you to become a better person too. I'm going to try and help you. She wanted to forgive, move on, and help in any way that she could, which I thought was very big of her. That's awesome.
So Mom approved. Who would we let watch this show?
I don't know if I'd let little kids watch this show.
No, it would definitely have to be a mature,
older audience. Teenager. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe afterwards talk about how not to be in a relationship with a awful person.
Yeah, to not be that person and to not put up with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get out of those situations.
No.
So, older teenagers, you can watch it.
So I've got the tally board. So was the title said in this movie? Yes. At the very end. She's like, I wasn't born yesterday.
Nice.
How many times does Harry show off his money?
7.
That's good. 8. I
Oh,
counted
okay.
8. There could have been a bit more because it's very subjective. All of these questions are very subjective. How many times does Harry lose his temper?
Ooh, 5?
17 times.
Holy crap, I was way off.
Yeah. Basically, I counted any time when he went to being okay to losing it.
Oh, okay.
How many times does Billy hit on Paul?
That one's less. That one's like 7 times.
Close. 6.
Okay.
And then how many times does Paul say something sweet to Billy?
Sweet talk again.
Yeah.
She says that line 3 times. So 3 times?
6 times. So it's even. 6 and 6. And then who started flirting with who between Billy and Paul?
He did.
Yep. That was all I did for the tally board.
Good. Those are good ones. All right. Well, so again, next week's going to be our episode 10 special. Join us for that. And we would love it if you helped us grow. You're welcome to share anything that you've heard with others. We'd appreciate any feedback you could provide. We have a Facebook page called Stuff with Moms. You can hop on there. We post a couple pictures, come out with every episode, and we have our website and email listed in the show notes, and we love hearing from you. We've got some feedback from some of our listeners and some nice comments, and it's been really great, and we appreciate all of it.
Mm-hmm. And we'd like to thank Red Productions for the music. It has benefited us nicely. And we'd like to thank Jonica for the logo that she's created for us. To thank our listeners. Thank you for allowing us to be in your life for the amount of time of this podcast and bringing us along with wherever you go, whether jogging or working or what have you. We appreciate you.
The other week, Clark said to me, Mama, when I grow up, you're going to help me name my kids. And I was like, that's something that you and your wife will figure out together. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to name my first son Book Lord.
Book Lord. Where did he come up with that?
I have no idea. But it was awesome.